So that has led to what we're seeing today, which is what we published in Metabolites just a couple of weeks ago, of the emergence of this nutritional C15 deficiency syndrome called cellular fragility syndrome. So think about like vitamin C deficiency and scurvy and vitamin D deficiency and rickets. This is C15 deficiency and cellular fragility syndrome. Our cells become more fragile. It accelerates our aging, and accelerates the onset of type 2 diabetes, fatty liver disease, and type 2 diabetes. So it really is the urgency, and we're so glad to be having this conversation, is really about increasing awareness of something that probably 10 out of 10 people that you talk to is like, I've never heard of C15.
I also think like everyone is, you mentioned since the 90s, we've been told switch milk out for almond milk and switch it out for oat milk. Almonds are sprayed with glyphosate. Is that what it's called? I think I can pronounce anything. Everyone gets mad.
Glyphosate?
Okay, yeah, it's sprayed with pesticides. So you're essentially eating pesticides, and you're not getting your milk, which sounds like you're not getting your C15. And then oat milk is filled with so much sugar. If you look at the back of oat milk, it is so fucking disgusting. The fact that oat milk is so popular, like I'd rather eat a Snickers.
And to your point, plant-based milks have no C15 in them. And when we talked about the quality of dairy fat, Michael, both you and Lauren brought it up, right? Is the quality of dairy fat has also been changing. So even if you have whole fat milk, we know that, for example, cows that eat grass have twice as much C15 in their fat than cows that are fed corn, right? And so we don't always know when you're drinking milk what was the diets of these. And there's been a lot of studies, even ones showing that the higher the altitude of the grass that an animal eats, the higher the C15 levels. An example is Sardinia. In one of these, and I know the longevity zones are going through a thing right now, but hold tight, they will survive the current challenges that we're hearing about. But in Sardinia, where there are a lot of centenarians, people who live to 100, they have C15 levels that are 3 times higher than the average American.
Move me there. I literally, if Michael said, let's go there tomorrow, I'd be so in.
Know, I've said it so many times on this show, and like, I'm not a scientist and I'm not a doctor, but intuitively I'm somebody I feel that's in touch with myself. But also I've read a lot of history. My passion is like reading about history. And if you think about just the way human beings have evolved and how we were able to survive, it is with dairy, it's with meat sources. It's like, if you read about Genghis Khan and the Mongolians, they were able to go past such far swaths of land because they would take the horses and drink the mare's blood with the milk, and like that would sustain them to go very long distance. So when you hear all this, people that did not have access to almond milk and oat milk and refrigerators and modern, this is how we've evolved for thousands and thousands of years. So it seems strange to me that all of a sudden these things would not be good for us.
Right. Because we didn't evolve away from that. So you're exactly right. And Sardinia is another great example. It is in this mountainous, there's a specific region within Sardinia that is this high longevity zone. And they have gone through periods of famine and challenges where they have developed diets, just like you're saying, Michael, that are meant to be long lasting. So they create this hard cheese from local mountainous goats and sheep. One's called Pecorino, which is one most of us know about, that has twice as much C15. But again, it's the what we keep coming back to with C15 and longevity is it's about resilience. It's how well are our bodies, are our cells able to combat challenges when they come our way. And the more resilient we are, it makes sense, right? The longer we're going to survive and live.
Also, if babies survive on milk when they're little, what in the fuck makes people think that we should be switching to oat milk? Like, well, they would
say it's from the cow, and it's not, then you switch to the cow's milk and not the mother anymore.
They start on milk. Don't you think it would make sense? They obviously can't drink mother's milk. I know you have a couple of your guy friends that still breastfeed their mom, but you can't stop breastfeeding after that.
Here's what I would say is, to me, the leap from human milk to cow's milk is a much easier leap from human milk to oat or almond milk, right? Like, That's the when people make the
what
argument
about
like
macadamia?
no, but you know what I'm saying? Like, when people make the argument of like, oh, the plant version, I'm like, it's much like I would assume that the mammal milk is much closer than the plant milk to our genetic makeup.
That's right, exactly. So and it opens up, right, this really fascinating conversation with let's follow nature, right? So start with nature, Lauren, just like you're saying, every mammal gets milk at birth. Milk is created to be the perfect food for newborns and for early development. Then we move, Michael, like you're saying, we move into cow's milk, which is a proxy. And not everybody can drink cow's milk, but for those who can, there is a supportive role for milk, especially getting the C15 and a lot of other nutrients. Then the question is, as we get older, because when you look at other mammals, you don't see other mammals continue to find milk sources, for example, as adult mammals. So with us, what we started looking into is like as you start looking at adult studies and cow's milk or dairy fat, the studies get mixed, right? It's really messy. It's no longer super clear that drink milk and you're healthier. I think it gets to your point, Lauren, what you're saying, which is it could depend on what quality of the dairy that you're eating and how much does it have the good nutrients versus nutrients that you don't want. But the take-home story that we've learned is that for what we need throughout, like not, past our first 20 years, we want to live to 100 years and beyond, is that dairy fat on its own, because it does have a lot of pro-inflammatory saturated fats in it. It wasn't like the recommendations were all wrong. That is why the Navy and Office of Naval Research funded us to do this work to develop a pure C15 ingredient that could be given throughout adult life to allow us to get this good beneficial fatty acid without having to compete with other fatty acids or what we can't control of kind of the messiness of dairy fats.
Dr. Stephanie, I get eaten alive on TikTok every single day because of my feelings on raw dairy, raw milk, raw cheese, raw everything. What is your take on it? And be as honest as you want. Rip me to shreds if you want.
I won't rip you to shreds. I think there are a lot of nutrients with regard to the point of milk, whole milk, right, is to offer these important nutrients. You don't pasteurize milk. Calves don't pasteurize. You don't pasteurize milk then to give it to the calves to benefit from it, right? So it is there to be able to support their whole body health. I think where the part that becomes more challenging is ensuring the quality of that raw milk as with the impact of time and quality control of the environment that it's in. And that's really about growth of bacteria. So